In the world of recovery, many paths leads to the same destination, healing. But what if there was a different, more holistic way to get there? Today, I'm talking with someone who's been called the best kept secret in the world of addiction and trauma recovery. Now I'm going to say this wrong. Jeanne Foote? Yes?
Yes, yes, you got it.
Jeanne Foote is the founder of the Recovery Concierge and brings a unique, a 360-degree approach to treatment that goes beyond conventional methods. She'll share her own lived experience and discuss how to integrate trauma-informed model that can meet people wherever they are with compassion, strategy, and unwavering support. We'll dive into how to heal and how to be on this journey at your peak performance, not just survival. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Edna. It's a true pleasure to be here today.
Okay, so I'm gonna dive right in. You've been called the best kept secret in the world of recovery. Why do you think you're unique and with your approach, with your 360-degree approach?
Okay, so with all due respect, I think
Yes.
recovery is addiction recovery in particular is one of the areas in healthcare, behavioral health that has really poor outcomes. And I think
Right.
we need to raise standards. Like, we don't settle for those outcomes in physical health or mental
Gotcha.
health. We try to raise standards wherever we can. And
Mhm.
so through my own lived experience, as well as seeing, people, AA, traditionally, nothing wrong with AA 12-step, has really dominated the marketplace, and there has been success in that. But there's
Right.
also a tremendous amount of stigma in addiction, especially. I always say
Mhm.
addiction is the poor relative of mental health. And so
Right.
therefore, it really creates a lot of barriers for people getting care. And at best, it can be a very short-term, short-lived, without complete, wouldn't say complete, but what I would say would be, what do you call it? I'm just trying to struggle for the words, excuse me.
That's all right.
Where there's maintenance, like any other
Right.
condition, right? Like there's
Mhm.
maintenance in the terms that there's regular checkups and there's a step down approach and all of those things, which often lack in recovery, like 30-day treatment, you're out, go to 12-step and you're on your way.
Right.
Good. But I
Right.
look to go to the theory of good, better, best. What else can we do? What else can be? And for people who have complex trauma or really
Mhm.
complex childhood or come with chronic PTSD, which I did,
Mhm.
I was abstinent for 7 years, but very unwell. So I don't always think abstinence is a testament of true good recovery. We want to be thriving.
Right.
We want to be flourishing. And that is
Right.
often, it's missing in a lot of the models. It's about abstinence. We're measuring, I think, one metric where we should be measuring
Mhm.
many more.
Oh, wow. So I know that it is complex, and I know, when I first encountered like addiction, that was like they only focused on that part. And again, like you said, it's always like a revolving door. They're back, doing that. You know, uh, I really want to understand this because this is like the crux of what's going on pretty much like everywhere right now, and there's a big focus on that, especially starting with children. So, what other parts besides like, that you look at, besides the addiction part?
Okay, well, we have to look at all behavior has purpose. If we look at someone who has a misalignment in their thinking and in their
Gotcha.
behavior, there
Gotcha.
is not harmony, it's integrated harmony, it's a lack of that. So there's a reason,
Good.
there's a reason why that person is acting out. So people have focused traditionally on the
Hmm.
addiction as the problem, which is problematic, don't get me wrong. But there's something that's driving that behavior in the first place. And that is often the missing
Right.
piece. And once we get to what is driving the behavior, then we can really correct it. But unless we're incorporating that part into it, and then again, with relapse, if we look at relapse as relapse rather than a reoccurrence, which could happen
Hmm.
in any disease management illness, right?
Right.
And we can take the stigma out. And then that person is not a failure. The person who's struggling with addiction already feels like the worst flawed human in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
don't need to add more salt on their wound. We need to give them more compassion. We need to love them up so they can understand how they got here and what they can do from this place moving forward.
That's good. I love that you said love them up, because what I've seen is a lot of, you got to do this, you got to do that, and they're like struggling even to do those things. But love them up. You're so right. There is no love and compassion in those steps at all. It's
we
just
have
like
to recognize
regimen. It's regimen.
100%. And it feels
Yes.
like this is the first time for many that they're being taught any tools or structure.
Right.
But you also have to remember that shame drives the addictive cycle. So if someone thinks that they're flawed, it's not what's wrong with you, it's rather what's happened to you.
Right.
And Dr. Bruce Perry, who wrote a book on trauma, which is, you've never really met someone who has an addictive issue without some trauma. Now, I get the spectrum on that. So, I'm talking more big T or more adverse childhood experiences, which most of us had. Everybody generation was doing the best they could, but really it didn't translate so well, which is why we have conscious parenting. So, and every model has its faults. But for the most part, we really weren't given what we needed. And so therefore, that person is struggling with who they are on a multitude of levels. Right. And unless we can really remove them and say, okay, what can we do from this space forward? Understand the reason they're misaligned, they're not integrated, and then let's help them move forward, is a whole different model of care.
Right. Right. Your services go beyond, the traditional therapy, as I'm seeing now. What's one thing that you do with your clients that most people in your field would consider unconventional?
So I think things are slowly catching up. So I came before trauma was trendy. My recovery journey started in 1993. I was in my early 30s at the time, and I had a complex. I probably have lived with complex PTSD for at least 5 decades. I had no idea that's what it was. I couldn't understand. I was doing everything that was prescribed to me. So I went to rehab. I had a young family. I was abstinent for 7 years. I attended 12 steps. I attended aftercare, but I would keep relapsing, not every day, but after 2.5 years, after 17 months, after 4 years of abstinence, I couldn't understand why, because I had a trauma history. So one of the things I think that's different now that we integrate is probably very similar to what you do, is we look at subconscious reprogramming. What is the driving force behind someone's programming? Because our subconscious program is linked to our emotional brain, which then dictates our behavior, our emotions, and then our behavior, right? So unless we're getting to that part, at best, you're just going to put a lid on it for a period of time. And then it's only a matter of time. I say it's like whack-a-mole. You put one thing down and something else is going to pop up. It will pop up in eating. It will pop up in sex addiction, whatever. It will come somewhere, right? Because you really haven't looked at the root driver. So that's one area. The other area is somatics, embodiment, and nervous system regulation. So trendy again. Nobody knew what that was 10 years ago, but I've been studying it for the last 20 years because that was my way out. I went on a quest to figure out how to get well because nobody was giving me the tools. And I was a tenacious, spirited person who felt that I deserved better and my children did. And that's what just sent me on a quest. And I guess I have a relentless sort of pursuit to figure out how to move beyond that, because I'm really intrigued with personal development. And the more we know now is that there's so much. We now know that instead of it being a top-down approach, brain body, it's an actual body top-up approach. We know that we have neuroception, which means we have filters in our body that really perceive fear, good things that we should be cautious of. So we may not have the acute memory of something that we're scared of, but our body knows it. And then it starts in the body and then it goes up to the brain, not the other way around. And so we have to tune into ourselves. And I think the challenge is if you learn to disconnect from your body, which is what I did. I had a good head and I thought, okay, I'll just run with that. And eventually you can outrun yourself. You just cannot outrun yourself. You've got to connect and integrate back into your body. And your body has tremendous intelligence. Like, take, for example, your heart. Your heart has 40,000 neurons. 40,000 neurons. That's brain cells.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That's
And we're
really
discounted. That's when someone says they're heart sick, they mean it.
Yeah.
They mean it. They feel off. So
That's
I
good.
think for too long we've discounted our bodily intelligence, and our subconscious brain is actually running our life. And so unless we get a handle on what's going on for us, I think at best we can just dial it down.
Yeah, I like that. We've not paid attention to our bodily intelligence. Love that. I haven't heard that. That's really good. That's really, really good.
Thank you.
You also focus on peak performance. How does the addiction and peak performance, how do they intersect?
Well, I think there was an old saying that you want to get out from surviving to thriving, right? And originally I bought into that, and I think thriving is good. But what if we could actually tap into the innate essence of who we really are, without our titles, without our, accolades in life, right? Who are we really without our name, without our title, without our look, right? And I believe that we all have our unique spiritual curriculum. We all come to this earth with a curriculum by the family we're given, by our life experiences, whatever that may be. And so for me, to get out of addiction, and when I first went into recovery in 93, I felt like it was a death sentence. I'll be very frank with you. It was so stigmatized. None of my friends who even enjoyed substances recreationally even thought they had a problem, let alone probably thought I did. I knew I had a problem. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, it was so stigmatized, and it was like, I felt like a cloud was following me everywhere I went, over my head. Like, it's that kind of feeling. And then when I really found true freedom through on my quest for modalities and trying different things, from Kundalini yoga to studying to become a somatic practitioner, to become an addiction counselor, NLP trainer, all the different things out there. It's so like, why are we incorporating this? This doesn't even make sense to me, that we're still behavior with willpower. Like, really? Because we all know that willpower wears off. Right? Thank you. I sometimes feel like I'm the only person who thinks this way, because so many people are very stuck in more traditional models, and there's nothing wrong with them, because they may work for somebody, but they fail too many. So this is one of the reasons why it didn't work for me.
Right.
It worked to a degree, but it didn't take me all the way. It managed to get me clean enough that I was sober, but not enough to flourishing in life. So I think, thriving or becoming resilient, good. I think flourishing is even better, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a better word. But I love what you're saying, because when you're learning, like you said, you're learning your spiritual blueprint. I love that, because that's where I am right now. And I'm just uncovering who I was before all of this, the titles and the trauma and all this stuff is on top. And I'm just learning, re-embracing who I am. And I was talking to my friend, and I was telling her that I knew that I was clairsentient years ago, like as a kid. I could see, I could, I could, it was just innate, and I can do it. It wasn't like I had to conjure up anything, and it was just there. My mother knew it. And she's like, how do you know that? She would ask. I said, it's in my brain. And she goes, wow, if it's in your brain, there's nothing I could say about that. But she's like, she just said, wow. And I remember this, I was 9. And I was telling my friend, I felt ashamed, because sometimes the things I say bothered people, kind of upset people.
Yeah, because you can see things others can't.
Yeah, and so I would not say it. I would be, I stopped saying it. And one day I remember I was like 12, and I looked at this woman. She was visiting my mom, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, I leaned over to my mom and said, Mom, her husband is beating her. I see a black eye. My mom was like, I don't see a black eye. She says, I said, I see her black eye. And she goes, just hush, go in the room. And that was the first time I said, okay, I'm not going to say anything. But the next week she came back over. It was true. He had been doing it for a long time and was true. And I had stopped even like trying to be around people and even like do anything about it. And that's when I started being quiet. So I started like hushing up every time, because a lot of people, I could feel things and I would hear voices all the time like, is that me talking like that? And I would be very quiet. So for years I was quiet, and I had told her, and she said to me, just exact opposite. She said, oh, go to school and learn that. I was like, well, then how did I get it the first time?
Yes, I was born for this.
I was like, I went to school and got this. And I was like, no, I don't think I need to go to school. I think I need to embrace it, and walk in it and just embrace it and live there. And I'll learn as I'm going, because I don't think that it takes books. I think it, packing all that other stuff up, then I have to prove myself. And then it's too much. And you get back into comparisons. It's all of that stuff,
Well, 100%. It's very lonely to walk a different path, right?
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying about that. And then your mother probably never looked at you the same way before, because but she was probably overwhelmed that she didn't know what to do, because how do you know this, right?
Yeah. She always calls me the why girl. I ask questions. Why it was like that? Why was that like that? And and I question everything and I challenge everything. So she always says that to me. You're my why girl. You have to know how things tick.
Beautiful.
That's very interesting. I love what you're saying. I think this brings a whole different, holistic is a buzzword too, but what you're saying and doing is not buzz. It's not buzz. I can see it actually working for a lot of people.
I think how I look at it is it's multidimensional and we're multi-layered as well. Like we're complex. Being a human is a complex.
Yes.
We need a manual. We need a user's manual to be human, right? Right? Look at the state of the world today. And we're just talking about optimal behavior. We're not even talking about crazy.
Right.
So I think we need a manual. We need to understand what drives us, what drives our behaviors, our decisions, our thinking, our emotions. Because unless we have some understanding, it's like most of us, I call it hydroplaning. We hydroplane through our own life. We're kind of in the car, but we're not really driving it. We're thinking somewhere else, right? When we've done it enough times. And so we're not conscious of what we're doing or thinking or saying, right? How many times have we answered somebody and said something when we really haven't taken it in, right?
Right.
So we need an understanding if we want to go beyond just existing and just automatic pilot, right?
Yeah. Right. That's cool. That's good. I like the hydroplaning because we do that a lot. We do a lot. You recently started a training academy. Yes. What's the biggest misconception you hope to dismantle for other professionals in the behavioral health field?
Talk therapy will only take you so far. It really is like limited at best. It's not to say that it's not good. There's good, better, best always. But it really, first of all, it exacerbates trauma. You can't talk your way out of trauma. You have to process it, number one. Yes. And that was my issue because I was going to therapy for years. I've been in therapy on and off for decades over the years. And I couldn't understand why I was getting worse, not better. And that was part of it. There wasn't an alternative back in the day, right? So I was doing what I thought was the right thing, go to a psychotherapist or, go to a therapist or whatever, go to rehab, do all the things. And really, externally, my life looked good. I was married, I had a career, I had children, but inside I wanted to off myself. So that wasn't a good metric of what I call recovery. So, I was abstinent too. So that's, sometimes abstinent doesn't always equal good recovery either. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be abstinent. There's, again, spectrum on all of this. And I think there's spectrum on conditions and illnesses as well. And so for me, it was really about learning how to really come back to myself. You hear about the journey of coming home. I was
Yes.
terrified to look at myself. I'm going to tell you something. I hated myself so much, I couldn't look in the mirror,
Wow.
let alone use my voice.
Right. Wow.
So that was
You might be right because
self-imposed.
you might be right
Yeah.
because I think I didn't look in the mirror either.
I was mortified to see what was going to reflect back on me, because
Yeah,
in
that's
my
crazy.
mind, it was much worse than what was probably happening, but I just couldn't face myself.
Yeah.
And it's not because I was the worst human who ever lived. It was because
Mm-hmm.
programming was running my life, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a bias for negative. So we do have a negativity bias. We remember
Mm-hmm.
the bad much better than the good. The good, like, it doesn't stick like Teflon. It just
Right.
slides off, right?
Right.
But the
Right.
bad, we remember the narratives. What's the matter with you? Who do you think
Right.
you are?
Yep.
Whatever they were, right? And we all have them.
Yep.
And that was what was running the show for many, many years.
Wow. That's good. What's one message you would give someone who feels that they've tried everything and their recovery is like a hopeless cause?
We'll never give up, number one,
Okay.
because there is answers out there. But I think that often the very thing that we don't want to do is the very thing that we need to do. I think intuitively, sometimes we need to go to the places that scare us, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was coming home to my body after years of sexual abuse, right? So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm just going to be a good thinker and smart and all the things. And so head up worked really, really well for me until it
Yeah.
didn't. And so coming home to my body would mean that I actually have to feel something. I have
Right.
to sit with it.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like insurmountable.
Yeah.
But it was the very thing that gave me freedom.
Right. Yeah, that's one
So
thing I tell my clients too. You have to come home to your body, and it's a very frightening thing because for so many years you've been ashamed of it. You didn't like this, or you were hiding from it, whether you were getting fat or skinny, or or just doing things to kind of like relieve yourself and have control using that body. You know what I mean? And you have to come to it, come back to it, and just really embrace yourself. It's hard.
100%. And I think the very thing, I've watched people, because I counsel people and coach as well. And
Mhm.
I've watched people do everything. They go, oh, I'll try yoga. I'm going to try breath work. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And okay,
You're talking to
all
me,
good.
girl. You're
All
talking to
good.
me.
Right? So we
Yes.
go through this like, okay, let me just try this. And I think this is going to be it. Right? But you know what? At the end of the day, we're the common denominator in everything that we do. We follow ourselves wherever we go. And sometimes we just have to do what we don't want to do if we really want that personal freedom. It's the same with fear.
Mhm.
In order to get onto a podcast like this, or to speak out and feel like I have a different view, I have to get over myself. That's
Yeah.
been hard for me.
Yes.
But nobody's
Absolutely.
going to hear me if I don't get over myself.
Yeah.
Right? So like, sometimes we have to do what we don't want to do, right? It's
Right.
that simple.
Exactly. Exactly. It is and I heard somebody tell me, no, I'm healed. She said, I'm healed. I said, girl, I am still finding things in the back of the shadows that I was like, oh, yeah, that's still there. So I said, no, I said, it's a healing because you want to live, you want to flourish. And when you're flourishing, and I said, think about a blossom, a flower. When it's opening, it's opening, it's opening, it's opening, it's a whole lot of steps in there to that healing process. So we're not always, we're healed on one spectrum, but then there's other levels.
Well, I think that's where you just hit, people. So I don't believe we're ever there yet. It's like the kids in the
Yes,
car.
me
There yet?
too.
No, we're never there. There's no destination until we die, right?
No, till we get there.
However, the good news is it does get better or
Better,
easier
yeah.
to deal
It
with. So
gets
instead
better.
of it being like smacking your face front and
Yes,
center, like it's overwhelming, it
yes,
slowly starts to recede into the
right.
background. And
Yes.
so then it doesn't take over your life in the same way that it used to, whatever
Used to,
that
yeah.
thing
Uh-huh.
is, right?
Yeah.
And so we get more comfortable with it.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to. I mean, I love what you said. It's not in your face anymore because, just, even just like dealing with, like you said, your body. I mean, I think even when I was modeling, I hated the mirror. That was pretty bad. You just reminded me of that. I was like, I had to take a reflection on that.
Because my eye goes to the flaws before anything.
Yes.
So you look at me and you go, oh, don't like that. And then everything else is now derailed, right?
Yes, it's off. You're off the track. Yeah, as soon as you see that one thing, it's off the trails, and that's it. You have to bring yourself back. And I'm often says, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And I have to regulate myself back there, and then recenter, and then go back and look in the mirror and start again. Yes, I get it. Oh, you was talking to me today, girl. You was talking to me. I don't know who else you was talking to. Audience, you're getting what you're putting down, because I'm getting it. You're talking to me. A lot of things that you just described, I may have not had, like the proverbial, if that's the word, like the drugs, but I was a cutter. And my body was the only thing I could control, so I wouldn't eat. So I controlled how my food was put on my plate. I controlled how I ate it. I had control.
Yeah. So there's many. As I said, the spectrum. I'm sorry that you struggled like that.
Yeah.
But we all. You're not. Most women and men now too struggle with body image issues, right? And so it's an area where the restriction is an area where you can control, right? And look what it does. And unfortunately, we get rewarded for restriction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is the perverse part of that equation,
yes.
Right? But yes, so everything comes in spectrum. I think, addiction is what I call a misalignment. We're not in alignment in an integrated way. And so whether it's your phone, how many, we haven't even seen the tip of what's coming next between sex addiction, food addiction, technology addiction, even work. Like for me, I fell into work addiction in the sense that it was respectable.
Once all that stopped, I went to work.
Right? Like you get rewarded for it. There's a good reward in work addiction. But it robs you of balance. It robs you of many different things. Sometimes your health, right? Depending on how bad it can get for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt after that was over, then I fell into work addiction, and it was like 60 hours, and I found myself almost sleeping at the job. I'm like, what the freak am I doing? And I was working for myself, so I didn't have to. But it was so addictive, And then I fell into the strong woman's addiction, that one. Don't ask for help. Do everything yourself.
I've got this. I've got this.
I had that shirt on all day, that Superwoman shirt on all day. And then when I got home, I was like dying. I was crying uncontrollably. It was just, I was a mess. I was a complete mess. And I often say in a lot of my videos, I say, that strong woman syndrome killed me. It was addictive. People were saying, you're such a strong woman. And I could feel my adrenaline go, ooh, yeah, I'm doing it. Never asked for help. And I ran myself into the ground. I ran myself into the ground because of that. Yeah, I was addicted.
I understand that. I'm in a season of the sacred pause.
That's great.
With still trying to 10x whatever I do in terms of impact, but really being very discerning now around what do I have to say no to in order to say yes to certain things, right? And that's so foreign to me because I used to think like I can do it all. And now I'm recognizing you just can't. You're going to have to make choices, make choices. Yeah. And that's a hard one to get your head around if you've been that proficient most of your life, right?
Yes.
I can do it.
That's true. That is really true. Oh, this is some good stuff. Well, this is an incredible, powerful conversation with the one and only Jeanne, right? Am I saying it right? Foote? Yes?
Correct. Yes.
Yay. Thank you for your vulnerability, for showing us the path to healing that is holistic and one that includes mind, body, and spirit. To learn more about Jeanne's work and discover her unique approach to recovery, visit her website at recoveryconcierge.com. Can't miss that, recoveryconcierge.com. And if you want to leave her a comment under this video, or on audio, you can do so and I'll get it right over to her. If this episode resonated with you, don't keep this powerful message to yourself. Share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let us know your biggest takeaway. Your journey to healing is valid, and you don't have to do it alone. Bye for now.
Thank you. Absolutely beautiful.